So I'll just get you to introduce yourself, your whakapapa, where you were born and brought up.
So, Tracy Atiga, and I'm married to Matt Atiga. I've got 4 kids: Austin, Levi, Trinity, and Maddie. And 3 muckles. I've got Paris, Vincent, and Preston. So a bit of a mixed bag: Maori, Samoan, Irish, English. So I hail from my whakapapa all the way back up to the Hokianga. So Tikaraka is where I'm from. Um, Taringa is my maunga. Sorry. Um, and then my village is back in Samoa, in Savaii, so I'm Whalelupo and also Pango.
Uh, Whalelopo,
Pango.
Pango.
Yeah. So my grandfather's he's passed on now, but he was a boxer and came from Samoa to New Zealand. He actually came as a wrestler, went to the wrong gym. That's the story all the time. Ended up being a British Empire boxer here in New Zealand. So settled down with my nana, who's from England. Well, she was born here. Both her parents were from England though. And then obviously on my granddad's side, on the Samoan side, there's the Irish blood because he's a Scanlan. So yeah, got the Samoan Irish and the English, and then Maori is on my birth father's side. So yeah, got a whole blend of, and then all my babies have different nationalities as well because they've got a bit of Fijian, Niuean, and Tongan in them as well. So as well as all the other stuff. Yeah,
Well, that's kind of us nowadays, right?
yeah,
Full on fruit salad.
mixed bag.
So your dad, he was a rugby guy,
Yeah.
born into a rugby family. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, my history, it's important to sort of tell. So, birth father who's Māori, but mum left him while she was pregnant with me. And so my dad, who raised me, is Murray, and he's passed. So he's been gone for 4 years now. But between my mum and dad, rugby was, yeah, ingrained in us from a very young age. Not to say that they didn't introduce me to netball because there was an option to play netball. But I went along to the under sevens or under eights registration day for rugby with my brothers, and they got a free Coke and a free Moriba and a Kelly Tottenham's voucher, and so I wanted to do that too. And that's essentially why I ended up playing rugby. Yep, my dad and my mum, everybody in our families played rugby, and my sister. And when I say ingrained in us, my parents ran every single sports club that my family were ever involved in, from netball, basketball, um, athletics, all the way through to rugby, of course. And that was their core offering to us as parents, was they ran everything. So club captain, secretary, cleaner, bar staff, you name it. We were thrown in there to do odd jobs as well, running the top shop, making the toasted sandwiches. So I think I just fell in love with rugby, and so did my siblings, and I think we all did pretty good on the playing front, and then also in the administration side as well.
That's incredible because I'm very grateful for my mother running around us on Saturday sports and we afternoon sports, morning practice, all that kind of stuff. But it would have taken up a lot of time of your parents. Like, how did that have any effect on you guys apart from you know you guys your career in it?
Yeah, I think it had a great effect on us. It was a real positive influence for us, because our parents were so hands on. We got to get hands on with all of the running and operations of sports clubs. So from a really young age, I remember dragging out the high jump mats and the discuses and the shot puts and setting up the field. I'd go with my dad on weekends and we'd line the fields, the racing track, right through to setting up touch on a summer period to fundraise money for the rugby club in the winter. So I think for us and for my siblings, it was a positive influence. We got to see the hard work and the fruits of my parents' labor. And, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We came from a real humble family where, both my parents had to work really hard jobs. It was one point in time where my sister and I went to Australia for athletics, and it cost quite a bit, still costs the same now. And both my parents did night shift work for about 3 to 6 months just to fundraise to make sure we could get there. So they'd have their day jobs, and they were really physically labor intense work, day jobs. And then they do, yeah, night shift at Woolies in Newmarket. It's
Oh,
like,
and it's
you
at
know,
the Woolworths.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So this is
yeah.
back in the 277 days when it used to exist there. But you know, like, so I think a lot of, I know I speak for my siblings and myself when it comes to building careers in that industry of sports, everything goes back to mum and dad and their parents who also instilled sport in them, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And so, and because your dad, he was a coach of.
Yeah, he coached every single grade you can think of, he coached. So my dad Murray, before he passed, he coached every grade from pretty much under sevens in rugby union, all the way through to Prem's development. For one particular club, Ponsonby Rugby Club. He also did the women's team as well. He coached my mum.
Really? How
Yep,
was that?
that was interesting. I was too young to play for the women's grade, so I used to sit on the sidelines and do as much as I could there.
Oh,
Um, and then unfortunately, he never did get to coach the premier side at Ponsonby Rugby Club, but he did transfer to another club, and he had some really great successes there. So, yeah, my dad was a pretty special man. Um, he was a caretaker at Duluth Junior School, so his entire life was evolved around, running the school. And so, to go off a sort of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. finish job every day to then do your extracurricular stuff where he'd drive us from. I remember doing our trips from where we were in Remuera all the way out to Kelston, because that's where we played. We played for Ponsonby Kelston, 2 nights a week for trainings, and then on Saturdays we'd have games. And the only thing that really, like I said, was the reason why I played rugby in the first place. I was really inspired by our Wednesday night trainings because coming home from Kelston, we'd get to have Georgie pie. that
it's
was
all
the
about the food for
that's
you,
what it
isn't
was. That was what it
it?
was. Free Moro
Yeah, I
bars,
know.
free Coke cans.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, they were the reason, or the heart was inspired by my parents, and it's so cool to be able to live in that legacy for them and show them that everything they taught us has now become sort of a career advancement for all of us. Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, my dad was a coach of his first 15 team. Oh, he was also the captain when he used to go to Deloa, Dubo College, right? And I don't know. I think for us, like I feel like I'm like rugby loyal heart, which is weird because, but I did play rugby when I was in high school.
Cool.
I was captain. Don't ask me what the
Nice.
rules are because I have no idea.
Captain.
Don't ask me
No
what
rules.
even I can't even remember what position I
I love
played.
it.
Um, but yourself, you went on, right, and you
Mm.
played for Samoa.
Yeah, I played Manusina. Um, Actually, the first team that I made was in women's rugby was the New Zealand Seven Māoris team, um, and that just sort of came off a quadrangular that was happening at the time. It was before New Zealand Sevens being a professional outfit. I was really really proud of that because it was supposed to be my first black jersey. But unfortunately, we were supposed to go to Kuala Lumpur, and that tournament was cancelled, so I never got to don the black. But that's cool. Um, when I was 29, I went back to play. I'd taken a hiatus sort of when I was 19. I decided coaching was for me. So I coached for about 10 years in rugby. And then when I was 29, I went back to just have a jam. And I ended up playing for Manusina. We went to Spain and we qualified for World Cup. So I really, really enjoyed that. It was the last tournament that we had with Peter Fats. He's my boy and I miss him dearly. But yeah, I really enjoyed playing with the Manusina because the girls were green, they were fresh, and they were eager to learn. And there's nothing better than joining a team where everybody's on that same level of wanting to learn, and you don't have sort of, you know, everybody's in a wall, and there's a bit of cattiness going on. It was just great. Really loved it. And yeah, if you ask my kids, they laugh because the only thing I ever talk about is that one campaign to Spain. All my camp stories go from there. So, but yeah, no, I really loved it.
And how was that like going back into playing after having kids and like
Yeah, well, it was actually nice because in my early days of playing, before I finished up and became a coach, I would have at least two babies on the sideline. I'd be breastfeeding on the sideline, play
wow,
a coach. So
yes,
so I'd,
perfect.
I'd run off, chuck a baby on, and then run back on the field. score a few tries and then and then run off and then grab the other baby. So it was nice to go back as an adult with 10 years of coaching experience and understanding what my role was on the field and being able to confidently play
Mhm.
without having my little ones running around in the background needing me. Yeah, it was actually probably the way that you'd want it to be when you were younger. But yeah, my life was the other way around, so it's all good.
That's intense. Good job, Mama.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, so you went to Epsom Girls Grammar?
I did actually. I went to 3 schools. So I went to Epsom Girls Grammar for third, fourth, fifth.
Yeah.
So that was back in the old days when we went third form, fifth form. Yep. And then for the sixth form year, I had been accepted into Tamaki College. A very good mentor friend of mine, Toi Pune, started the very first sports academy there. So it was just a full year of sport, and that was exactly what I wanted to do in my life. So I went there, and not long into that half year, I fell pregnant with my first baby, Austin. And so I finished up there, and I finished my sixth form year at AO. Already college. I'm
Wow.
really proud of that actually. So I went there with the belly out here and school uniform, even though I was an adult student and I could wear mufti, I didn't know. I just wore my school uniform. So yeah, I mean, like that's the life that's the life that the Lord gave me and I just went with it and I don't regret anything. 3 schools, love them all. Yeah. Memories from each.
How did you have any troubles? Well, did you feel like you fit in at high school and stuff, or?
Well, okay, so I actually wanted to go to Kelston Boys, because rugby was my thing and I loved playing touch and all of my mates were guys at the time, so it made sense for me to go to all boys school, but apparently that wasn't allowed. So I went to Epsom Girls. It was tough because I was definitely looking for challenges, especially in the sports domain, but I very quickly found myself, we didn't have a rugby team there when I started. I very quickly found myself in the Prem's basketball team. So that was challenging, a whole new code at the highest level from third form. So I dived into that, really loved it. Eventually, one of our science teachers started a rugby team, so I was able to play that too. Um, but yeah, I found it challenging mostly because my goals in life were to achieve and aspire to be something a little bit more than just what was the standard norm for females at the time, and I always knew that. So it was challenging for me. Yeah, I really enjoyed AO for that very reason.
Were
And then
you?
amongst the co-eds,
Yeah, yeah. Were you perceived as a bit of a tomboy?
yeah, yeah. If you ask any of my friends, they know me as like a she thug.
She like.
Yeah, I mean, back then I was very proud to have that label, but yeah, She Thugs was kind of like this thing that went around our school, and
Love
I
it.
had a nickname which I actually have on my arm, Trey, and that was given to me by a coach of mine, Chris, who's also passed away, um, and that's because I shot 3 pointers. So one of
Ah,
my strengths in basketball was that I could post up and shoot threes from wherever. So I got named Trey, which is short for Tracy, but also had another name. So yeah, everybody in high school, I mean, even now into my adult life, they all know me as this kind of tomboy kid that came out of Epsom, should never have been there, but made it work.
make it work. That you do. But I heard you did a stint in radio. What
Yeah, I did. I
and
did.
TV show.
And Max TV, yeah,
Yes, like
I
well,
did.
where did that come from? What was that about?
Well, actually, so there's a couple of things that happen, and I need to tell you the story because it's the funniest story in the world. So when I was third form, fresh into Epsom Girls, things, I just have this thing that I want to do things, like really try real fun things. Back in the day, they didn't have Pacifica Rock Quest, or Pacifica Beats, they just had Rock Quest. And so it was traditionally for rock bands, genre like, grunge and metal. Um, but I noticed when I read the brochure that there was a hip hop category, and so I read up on it, 13 years old. I managed to convince about 6 of my close mates who I had made that year, just starting at Epsom Girls, to start a band. We taught each other how to play music. None of us could really play except for one girl. And we ended up performing at Avondale College. And the only other group that entered that particular category, they pulled out. They were from Mags. And so we won by default. And I love that story because we got to go to 531 PI, we got interviewed and we did a recording session. And I think we did like a TLC Fujila mashup. It was really cool. Um, but from there, we then got offered a couple of other things. And one of the things was I got asked if I'd like to do a radio interviews. So we called them Vox Pops. Go out on the street, ask people hard questions, get their answers, and then mash it up into a 30-minute segment for Te Pūtake, which was Rangatahi on air for My FM and a few other local radio shows down the line. Yeah, so for about 2.5, 3 years I did that, and I brought in my friend Mania Sweeney, and she helped me with bits and pieces as well, taking on her Te Ao Māori approach. And so the pair of us, we won a Radio New Zealand award back in the day. Yeah, I actually didn't believe it until I saw the newspaper. My mum had the clipping, and I still have that on my phone. It's one of my brag points now.
You
But
were
yeah, it
telling
was
me
cool.
that.
It was very cool. I'll send you it. It's fun. It's good to look at. It's good to be able to show my babies and my mokos one day that,
Yeah.
these types of things you can do as a young person if you set your mind to it. And then that led to Max TV. So I used to do a couch segment actually. I dyed my hair blonde and I had the most outrageous outfits. And I just used to ask people like Te Moana Rapley and Sheifu and like just really cool artists at the time. And I'd just be sitting there asking them questions. Yeah, that's that. Yeah,
Amazing.
14 years old when I did that. Yeah.
What? Wow.
Loved it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had a really cool pay packet. I was a
Yeah.
freelance artist. That's what I remember writing on my invoice, freelance artist. Yeah.
And so did you stay in that for long?
Well, I was kind of moving around a little bit. By that point, I had
Yeah.
been somewhat kicked out of home because I wasn't getting along with mum and dad, which is, that's life.
Yeah.
So I was bouncing around houses, living probably 10 years older than what I should have been. And by the time I was 16, I'd fallen pregnant with my first baby. So, I did do life a lot faster than most. And so I think by the time I was 15, I'd kind of finished up with the My FM gig because that funding had actually washed up. So it wasn't anything to do with our show, but just funding, which happens in this industry, as you know.
Yeah.
And then the Max TV thing, similar thing happened there. So yeah, kind of finished up doing that and just moved on to other stuff, I guess.
And what was it like for you having a baby at such a young age?
You know what? I specifically remember going, my baby's not going to be a statistic child. And I started planning my second child, Levi, right away, actually. It was challenging, of course, because, like, it's not like you plan to have a child. So you've gone and you got yourself your flat or your house and you've raised money to buy the crib, buy the whatever. So I think I did everything kind of backwards. I was working part-time to take care of stuff and going to school. So I think I had started working from a young age anyway. I was 12 when I started working at Fish Pot Cafe. So I had that kind of work ethic and I knew that my responsibility was to provide. So it was challenging, but at the same time, I love challenges. So I was able to just keep looking at what I need and just keep raising the bar to find what I need rather than look for help or, put my hand out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you when you guys had the baby, were you with his family or were you just
So it was
dating?
it was between houses and also had my own flat.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, quite a challenging. My two oldest ones are from a previous relationship, and their father's not with us anymore.
Oh.
So yeah, quite challenging for them.
Mm.
And then I was very lucky to meet my now husband not long after,
Mm.
having my second son.
Mhm.
And now we've also got two of our own as well. So there's four of us now. And I mean, we're one family, like I came from a blended family as well. So for us, we're all one. And I think when I look back at those days, it was sort of moving between Remuera, where I was living at Dulwich Junior School, not a big mansion in Remuera. So moving between Remuera, moving between family houses, and then the birth fathers of my older two boys' family home in Otara. So just a mixture of different environments and picking up bits and pieces around language and culture and integration. So for me, I think that period of my life, it helped me to understand my own identity and my strengths. around getting out of hard places because it was hard, you know,
Yeah.
like you can't make heaps of money when you're young, you know, and when you've got two little ones with you, you know, the important thing is to make sure that they don't ever feel like they're suffering or they're disadvantaged. So I think that's what drove me to keep going and keep elevating the bar. I did that myself, just keep pushing the bar up. Every time I got to the bar, just push it up a little bit more.
That kind of work ethic, do you think that comes from your mum or your dad?
It comes from, yeah, both,
Yeah.
yeah. And also my sister. Um, and I have to mention my sister because she pretty much raised us. When my parents were working full time in the fish shop when we were little, they were looking after my grandparents' fish shop in Warkworth. My sister sort of took on the mother role from about the age of 9 for
Wow.
about 2 years, and in that 2 year period, um, yeah, she'd get up in the morning, get us ready for school. So I've got two siblings that are younger than me. And so yeah, I also look up to my sister, her work ethic. She finished school when she was about 16. She went straight into full-time work, and she had her own flat and car by the time she was 17 too. She had a baby, I think Javon was, yeah, she was 18, I think, when she had hers. So I
Incredible.
think it was easier for me because I could see it could be done. And my parents worked really hard. My mum and my dad worked really hard. My sister, who was like a second mum, she worked really hard. So I think just for me, it was just following suit. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's I mean, because I think we were kind of blessed to have our parents. They have quite a strong work ethic, but it doesn't feel like there's the same drive these days.
Mm.
Just making a general comment,
Yeah.
around like because we will like work to the till that it's finished
To the
and
bone.
like till it's done,
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like it's just a different way of living now.
Yeah. When I look at my young ones, well, they're not young ones now; they're all adults. Like it was just last night, I actually mentioned that it was really nice to know that all of my babies can now cook like amazing meals. You know, so they were all taught very young, very young. Like we all taught them how to do eggs when they were 5. You know, so by the time they were off doing their own thing, they could cook for whoever was in their home. But to have all my adult kids back home this summer cooking. They're on a roster at the moment because they're in the adult house, which is great. I haven't cooked at all for like 2 weeks. Um, to sit down to a big meal and know that it's an amazing meal, you know, that tells me that we did the right things with our kids, teach them the basics of life, the things that were instilled in us. And to know where they're all going in their careers already on their own without too much intervention from us. It's nice to know that there are some in this generation that are following suit. But sadly, to talk to your point, there are a lot that are lost, and it's a real sad thing. Mm. Mm.
So, having played for I guess just in general, your Māori whakapapa and your Samoan whakapapa, like how does that translate into your leadership style? Because that's where you've fully kind of
Yeah,
transitioned into, right?
yeah,
You wanna?
yeah. Okay, so there's two things. So I think knowing that I've represented my country helps me to understand that I have a responsibility to everyone that looks up to that jersey, and I felt really blessed to play for my heritage as opposed to New Zealand rugby for the New Zealand team, you know. Like the New Zealand Māoris, it's important for me to say it was New Zealand Sevens Māoris. And then obviously Manusina, which is my heart and soul for 15s. Um, I think as a leader in the Pacific Island nations in Māori culture and in Te Ao Māori view, um, servant leadership's really important. It's a natural thing. So again, we go back to just respecting our elders and following in the footsteps and passing the va, etc. So for me, it was sort of a real natural leadership style to move into what felt normal. In fact, I didn't even know it was a leadership style that I was using in my everyday, like my executive roles, my governance roles, until I went back and did uni. Because I did uni after I started my professional career. And I learned that servant leadership was a style of leadership. And it fits well with Māori Pacifica, I think, because we are naturally ingrained in lifting people above. as opposed to being top down, telling people what to do. Um, being motivated by things like seeing others grow and achieve, it's just like next level fulfillment. You can't buy that, you know. So I've had some really well paying roles over the years, but none of those roles have given me the same satisfaction as the jobs that I used to do where I was working in a cafe or fishpot cafe, for example, serving others, or looking after my husband's grandmother before she passed for 3 months. You know, those types of things, so much more fulfilling, and you really get a sense of how your leadership impacts others when you're in those spaces.
When did you go back to uni?
I went back to uni in 2014.
Wow.
That was a bit of a funny story. So I had no previous qualifications, and I went back. I went to AUT University into the student hub to see if I could get into a bachelor or a diploma, and it was just lucky that the guy there asked to look at my CV. I showed him my CV, and he said, "Oh, maybe you should go up and speak to this guy." So he sent me up to the faculty, business faculty.
Mm-hmm.
That person wasn't there, but there was this other person called Ken Lee,
Mm-hmm.
and Ken was the faculty dean. And I didn't realize, but he took me into his office for an interview and he said to me, "Do you have any examples of your work?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Can you email it to me?" So I emailed it to him, and then he offered me a place in the MBA program. So I did my master's there. Yeah.
So you went straight into doing
I
your
went straight into a
master's.
master's degree. Yeah.
Gee, my
Yeah. And I loved
gosh.
it. I loved it. It was the most
Hey.
challenging thing in my life. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Actually bumped into Kenley just last week. Because I'm renowned as this, yeah, like I'm a challenging student. I always question the status quo.
Right.
Yeah, and got myself into a bit of a pickle with leadership, with my leadership class actually, and ended up sitting on this side of an examination panel who were determining what my score was going to be because I'd actually purposefully not submitted my assignment in time so I'd get a D. Yeah, there's a long story around that.
So, okay, this kind of energy that you bring to it, right? Like in terms of like just challenging the
The
status quo,
norms.
the norms,
Mm.
like like where do you think that's from, and like why do you think that's built inside you?
Yeah. So probably a few things. I'd say knowing where my grandfather came from,
Mm-hmm.
coming to New Zealand, trying to start a new life here, completely different culture, completely different construct. So there's something there. There's also the separation situation from when I was born. I knew when I was growing up that I had a birth father, and that my dad was my dad and mum was there. But there was this deep rooted disconnect. I'm matakite, so I see things, visually see and feel and smell. So there was this knowing that I had some gift of some form, but not knowing where it came from or why. So I know with my matakite gift, it came from somewhere. I know that I had this connection, deep connection to stuff around me, especially in the spiritual world, and I just didn't know where it was coming from. And so that energy's driven everything that I do. There's the struggles that we went through as young when we were young. My parents struggled through the whole fish shop situation. We were put out on the street actually by my grandparents. My parents were made bankrupt, so we were forced to live in this sort of situation of low deprivation. And so things didn't come easily for us. You know, we had to work really hard to get what we needed. So there was a lot of things all piled into one. But I would say that the energy comes from my connection with my ancestors through that matakite gift space because I can see stuff that can be done and I don't wait around for other people to help me get there. Because if I do that, and I've done this in the past many times, if I do that, if I wait for other people, I get the naysayers, I get the doubters, I get the people who say, "You're a girl, you can't." So on that one, I got told I couldn't play rugby. You know, you're a girl, you can't play rugby. Well, you know, I love rugby, so I'm going to play rugby. You know, so it was all those people saying no, 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 you can't go to school because you're pregnant. Yeah, no, I can. You know, so I think just my situations growing up put me in this space where I just drew on that energy from, I call it from behind me. It's my ancestors. I know it. I can feel it. And when they're with me, it gives me courage to just push forward in that space. And then when I achieve what I've set out to achieve, I'm able to go, not haha, told you so, but cool. I knew I could do it. And now hopefully you can see that it can be done, the ones who were saying no, and you might want to come along on that journey with me too. And 9 times out of 10, they won't come along. And I've gotten quite comfortable with that. Like, oh, you're just this, you've got this thing, it's just you. And I'm like, well, no, actually, I think we all have it, but I'm willing to keep pushing forward. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. No,
that's where the energy comes from. Certainly comes from a spiritual space.
Yeah. No, that's really powerful. And I think is it because I'm often like, is it instinct? Well, I guess that's the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like instinct and
Intuition,
why
wide work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, most people will call it intuition or instinct. Actually, when I went to uni, that's what they call it. They call it intuition. That is the theoretical word or academic word that they'll call it, intuition. And I think that's because spirituality scares people. And 9 times out of 10, people will connect spirituality with religion. And I don't do that, you see. I just go, no. It's a deep set feeling. And I align it to, do you ever have those moments where you are about to leave home for something like a picnic or whatever, and like something is staring at you
All
to
the
grab?
time.
Yeah,
All the time.
and you don't grab it, and then you go and then
And
you,
then
and
shit
that's what
fucks
you
up.
needed. Yeah.
Yes.
So, oh my god, they had no
Yeah.
tea towels, and I was staring at this tea towel
Yeah.
for like 10
And
minutes.
you register it. You
Yeah.
fully register it. And then when it happens and
Yeah.
you're like, you know what? I was like, I contemplated
Yeah.
that situation in my mind.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I always set myself up because of that though.
And then you question yourself. Now that you've done this often, where you're like, oh, last time I didn't listen, I should do it. And you go, nah, that'd be stupid. That part there, that don't be stupid, that's you questioning your wider or your spiritual knowledge. And people call it intuition because if you're on earth long enough, you've been to enough gatherings where, okay, there's always this time when there's no tea towels. So that's what it comes from. It comes from that data set that you've created in your lifeline that says, intuitively that you should take that detail.
Yeah.
But I've gotten beyond that to the point where, so one of my unfortunate gifts is that I can tell when people are unwell or when they're about to pass. And I can also tell when people are pregnant. And for many years, I didn't tell people. I'd hold on to that. I wouldn't say it. I'd just know. And then it got to the point where I was just like, actually, I'm not giving anyone advance notice for things when they could potentially spend more time with that person, or they can prepare for a baby that they're not expecting. So I started telling people only if they wanted the information. And so those types of things, I can't align that to intuition. That comes from something else. So that's why I'm like, there's definitely degrees of where it's called intuition, where you've learnt this and you're using your intuitive gifts to go, oh yeah, it's most likely going to be no tea towels at the party, so I'm going to take a tea towel. Right through to actually, no, this is from the source. This is from something else. This is spiritual.
Amazing.
And I've used that gift to do all of my sports stuff. Everything. Right down to timing of when to. So when I was young, I used to run 1,500-meter races. That was my specialty sport. I used to listen to my spiritual intuition as to when to sprint, when to do the big run at the end, the big sprint finish. So yeah, right from sport right through to admin, I use that gift now.
That's amazing.
And it's in many of us, especially Māori Pasifika, but it's scary.
Yeah.
You have to believe in it and you have to let it flow, and there's not often times when you have like a set picture of what it's going to look like. You just got to let it come out.
Interesting. I need to rein this. Roll it.
Yeah, I think the first thing is acknowledging what it is. A lot of people will still call it intuition. I still go between the two words, depending on who I'm talking to, which is the unfortunate truth when
when
you're in a certain group or you're in a certain setting. The correct word to use is intuition, but if you're in a comfortable space where you feel safe, spirituality, wairoa, all those other words that pop up are more natural.
Yeah, because often like I'll if I hear something or I think something and I'll be like, I can see it, then I know we can do it.
Mm.
And then everyone's like, you can't do that. And I was like, no, I can see it. We can do it. I don't know how. Like
Yeah,
this building, right? Like
correct.
we
Yeah,
can do it. I don't know how, but I can see it.
yeah,
But I just don't know the pathway yet. And I
yeah,
think that's, you know how you're like, I use it to do the things. I have the end thing, but that whole part in the middle,
yeah.
need to figure that out.
So I think in sport, in my governance roles and in my exec roles, I've been able to visualize the end result and then paint the steps to get there. And what I've learned in professional sense is that different cultures can't see. They can't see at all. So
Yeah.
there'll be an end result and there's all these little stepping stones. Just because I can see it doesn't mean they can. So I've learned to visually create like maybe vision boards or storyboards to actually paint that picture so that I can help people come along the journey with me without feeling that discomfort.
Yeah.
The discomfort level is what stops people from investing in you and believing in you and following you. So if you can minimize that discomfort level and reduce that fear that they have when they can't see, they're more likely to join you in that journey. So I think that's what has been the difference in the old me, which used to be, and I learned this. So I was CEO of Auckland Basketball for 4 years, and I had this vision that I pitched to the board, and they were not having a bar of it. I had to paint the picture. I had to show them, and I actually had to deliver it for over a 4 year period. I had to deliver those KPIs to finally get them to the point where they're like, "Wow, you did that." Didn't understand what you were trying to achieve at the beginning, but now we do. So that taught me a lot. I had a lot of trauma in that role, but I had a lot of great learnings. And one of the best things was that I learned how to communicate with a board of non-visionaries. And that's really important. It's really important that you have non-visionaries who can understand your vision so that you can get them on board with you early. Otherwise you feel very isolated and out on a limb by yourself. There's no need to be that way if you can learn how to make it work.
So can you just give us a rundown of actually what it is you actually do?
Yeah.
Like, what are you up to? Because it seems like you're like,
Yeah. Okay. So I think when I was young, I used to circle in the newspaper. I actually told this to a group of kids in intermediate who I was asked to do a guest speak for. And they said, just be honest with the kids, tell them how you got to where you are. And at the time, I was the CEO of Auckland Basketball. So it was a cool role. It was an amazing role. Um, and I hadn't been able to do that in rugby. So it was great to finally get a code that believed in me. So I was just like, oh, when I was young, guys, we used to have this thing called newspaper. And you'd do it on your iPhones now, but we had this big piece of paper that would open up. And there used to be all the different roles. So there'd be
yeah.
like general manager role,
Or
CEO,
like in the
in the
classifieds, like the
classifieds.
ads. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I remember.
Right down
Yeah.
to, part-time waitress and,
Yes. Yes.
So that's how we used to look for jobs.
Mhm.
And I used to circle the CEO role. That was when I was 12, I remember specifically going, man, I want to get paid that much money. I want to be that person. So I started, I think I call it manifestation now,
Mhm.
manifesting my desire to be whatever I needed to be at that age.
Wow.
And so that was me physically bringing that into my space. And I think in those different roles, I've morphed into what do I call myself? I'm an entrepreneur. So everything I do, I invest in my own. I don't borrow money, so I don't loan money to do it. Um, so buy and sell businesses, that's one thing. Help struggling companies or new company startups to create cash flow.
Mhm.
That's another thing that I do. um, Sitting on a whole bunch of boards is something that I love doing. So everything from I was on the ethics committee for AUT University for 5 years. Yeah. I was trustee for Counties Manukau Sport for 5 years, right through the tenure. So, like I love board roles because they require a lot less time of you, but you can give your whole heart. Um, I will every so often I'll take up a consulting contract if it's something that I'm deeply passionate about. And yeah, and then I'll do little side projects like being the CEO here or a GM. I'm actually the GM of a company at the moment here in Auckland, and have just built a tech product that we've sold to Auckland Transport for about $500,000. So that's the start point. Um, and we've got a whole bunch of other clients that are coming to us for the same product. So, you know, it's hard to put a finger on. Actually, my daughter asked me this the other day, and I really couldn't answer the question, like, what is it that you do? But I think if you look at my LinkedIn profile, I think it's still there. I call myself a happiness generator
You've got
because
two profiles.
have I?
Yes.
Oh wait, I've got one that has Napoleon Dynamite on it. Have you seen that one? That
Yeah,
was for
and
fun.
then one with no picture.
Yeah, and then one with no picture. So there used to be a picture on there, and I took it down because I used it for something else. But
Correct.
yeah, happiness generator is what I came up with because literally that's what I try to do. I try to help other people to be happy, and a lot of that is based on churning through systems so that they understand how to generate revenue.
Right.
Big
Yes.
mouthful,
We
eh?
need to. Well, I mean, that's important. I mean, I think we were saying this earlier. Like I feel like society sets us up to kind of not fail, but it doesn't make it easier
Mm,
for us, right? So, like the simple thing like maths, right? All the things that we're getting taught in math class, which you think would be, what you need in your life, is absolute rubbish. And so I think, having these kind of roles that you're in, it's just about trying to elevate our people, right?
yeah,
Because and especially when we're majority of us into sports or creative, not really money business minded,
mm,
right?
yeah,
Um, okay. But then there's something else though that you're up to, eh?
yeah. Well, there's a couple of things actually, and they're kind of fresh, so
Yeah.
I'll just talk to what I can.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing is that I've been up in the UK a bit lately. Um, some stuff happened up there where a club in the rugby league space, Super Rugby League space, well, they've dropped down to Championship, became available. So the club was struggling, and the current owners asked if I'd be interested in taking over the club on an acquisition level. So I spent a couple of weeks recently up in the UK. I'd already done a couple months of due diligence, and I went up to actually meet the people and get a feel for the books and all that stuff while I was there. And originally the plan was to just acquire, but what ended up happening is it made more sense on a business level to actually let it go to liquidation, the existing company, because I've had some conversations with Rugby Football League. And what we've done instead is we've put in a bid. So we're now in with two other consortiums who are looking to buy it. But effectively, that saved me £3.5 million of having to buy out the existing debt. So it was a good move, but the risk, of course, and I've been in the space of high risk for years, so it doesn't bother me. But the risk, of course, is that we miss that bid and we don't get the license. We lose to another group. Um, for me, it doesn't bother me too much because I think we've made the right decision not acquiring. You save yourself all that money, but at the same time, you get to start a scratch. Brand new logo, brand new club, brand new everything, brand new team, if you want to, or you can adopt the old one, it's fine. So, yeah, so I've been working on that, and we were supposed to find out yesterday. We were supposed to find out yesterday if we were the successful party. So they've pushed that back to Friday because they've got some stuff they need to deal with, I guess, with due diligence from their end. Um, and so we're just waiting around to see how that goes. I'm not on any anxiety pills, but I feel like I'm supposed to be because it is quite nerve-wracking not knowing. And to be fair, and I'll tell you about the next part. 5 years ago, we went for the Super Rugby license, and it was highly publicised. Everybody knows I drove the Kanaloa consortium and alongside my good friends. And we lost out in the end to Moana Pacifica steering group, and they've been driving the camp for 5 years. And I mean, I'm not going to say anything that's not in the public domain, but everybody knows that that franchise has been struggling. There's been some taxpayer spend that has gone to the AWOL that hasn't been great for the brand. And so me and my colleagues, Kanaloa, we actually made an acquisition proposal to Moana Pacifica for about $32 million worth. over 5 years. And we just found out yesterday that they've declined that offer. So I can't say that I'm like not surprised. Um, it didn't come down to like a money thing. It was purely just a space where they felt like 5 years ago they were hurt by us because we were quite vocal about missing out on the license to a group that was just a bunch of males essentially set up to look after the All Blacks tests versus Pacifica. So yeah, it came down to that. It wasn't a business decision. It wasn't based on whether we could run the ship well. It came down to some past hurts that they couldn't get over. So that's frustrating because we've obviously got tons of investment, which means we've got lots of people and finances behind us to drive this project forward, which is what the project has lacked. For 5 years there's been no money. So yeah, it's okay. Like I keep saying, we're 5 years older, so I'm only 43 now, so I can wait another 5 years and I'd still be well placed to go again. So I literally said that to them. I said, look, we'll see you in 5 years' time when this doesn't work again.
Oh,
Yeah. Or maybe we'll just do our own thing. So yeah, so we got a bit on.
yeah, that's a lot.
It is. And I went through a whole bunch of we all went through a whole bunch of learnings with that initial piece 5 years ago. It was a lot. Yeah. And to be at this end of the table now and to be told a second time, it's not for you guys. It should hurt, but it actually doesn't because I think we've all grown in our space. All of our group members, there's about 8 of us, have had 5 years of growth. We've got head coaches of very, very high level championship grade rugby unions abroad, in proper Premier Leagues. So I'm not bothered too much. I'm really comfortable. We're all comfortable with where we are now, and we'll just keep pushing, keep asking, keep challenging.
What is it like being a female in that space?
Oh yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted. Literally got questioned on who our CEO would be if we acquired, and I'm going to be CEO. Plenty of experience. Oh, it's the challenging part was being told, oh, it's a very hard role, very challenging. When we first went for the super license 5 years ago, we were told that we'd need to replace me as CEO for a male leader because in the Pacifica space, this is how we were told. In the Pacifica space, you really need a strong male leader, and that was coming from Papa'a. It was coming from Palangi, which was really hard. We sat there and just went, actually, you're wrong. If you actually look back into the ancient history, a lot of our wahine were leaders. We won't just sit down and bake the bread.
The children.
The children.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if anything, you should be looking at what our group's achieved. Do you have another group that's been able to bring this type of money to your table? No. So yeah, it's been hard being female in that space. Purely because all of you poor young girl, it's even harder because I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm Maori Samoan, so it's even harder. There's these barriers that you have to get through, because there's just this initial outlook that you're not educated, you don't have the strength, you don't know what you're doing. So it's like, I'm actually an international rugby player. I've done my MBA. I've been a CEO, I've been a trustee, you tell me what I'm not doing right to fit in this space, and that's the hardest part is trying to validate yourself when you shouldn't have to. I'm very blessed to have the boys in my team. The last time I was questioned on that was just this week. Like, what qualifies you to be a good leader in this space?
Yeah.
Instead of me having to answer that question, my husband and my fellow colleagues step straight in to not defend me, but to say, why not? Why? What are you looking for that she doesn't have? As opposed to, we're not going to sit here again and make her go for her CV.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But yeah, it's a real challenge.
Yeah, because I mean, not just the female, but I just want to tap back into the whole Māori Pacifica because
And young.
let's and young,
Yeah.
yeah. Because let's not sugarcoat it. I think there's a big perception from the Pacific towards Māori.
Oh yeah.
And that's from westernization. That's from a whole multitude of things, but namely religion and how they think people should behave or not
Correct.
behave, right?
Yeah.
And I can imagine that just adds that whole another level of challenge because that especially Samoans in terms of being so staunch, like Māoris are staunch,
Yeah.
but Samoans I feel like are emotionally staunch, culturally staunch.
Yeah.
I mean Tongans, right? We can cry. Men can cry in public. We can. We're okay to make clowns of ourselves.
Yeah.
Like we can actually do that.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very different situation
Yeah.
between.
It definitely is. And for me, it's compounded because I'm Afkasi. So here it comes. I'd say that being Afkasi has been the hardest part. Because you're not exactly owned by any culture. And where I've been challenged in the space of Pacifica, they challenged me because I'm white. And where I'm challenged in the space of Palangi, they challenged me because I'm brown. And it's so obvious because I have this one example where it also affects me on a intercultural level. Sorry, guys. So we were in an interview once about 5 years ago with the current Moana Pacifica leads. And this particular leader, he's moved on now, but he directed his gaze at me and said, yeah, so in our space, we call it the whono. Tracy, you'd understand it as the whare tapawha. And I just thought, this guy thinks I'm just Māori because of my moko. He has no idea that I'm Samoan. And my connection to my Samoan roots had been severed because of the journey my grandfather took to be here. And that absolutely destroyed me, to be shamed in front of my colleagues, my peers, who are all proudly Fijian, Tongan, Samoan, Cook Island. And my husband, who was proud Samoan Tongan, to sit there and have to take that and bite my lip and not react. Because if I reacted, it would have just created more rariraru. So to go home and my husband said, how did that go for you? It was rubbish, rah, rah, rah. I was like, yeah, it was, but there was this one thing that really got me. So I shared that with him and he just went, man, yeah, no, I heard that. I didn't know what to do. I said, that's the space that we need to challenge, that space where we don't know what to do. We should be able to stand up for ourselves in that space, and I'll never do that again. And so basically from that meeting with our own people, I mean, he was one of us. I made a pact that from that point forward, I wouldn't be silenced again. I wouldn't feel like I couldn't speak my truth. And so the next challenging hui that we had was with New Zealand Rugby Board and the chairman at the time, who subsequently resigned not long after this whole piece of work. He said a couple of things that were just so demoralizing, so sexist, and show me the money, honey. And my husband stepped in and said, do not speak to my wife like that. You would never say that to a Palangi woman in this context. And I think when we left that hui, it felt great because we had found our voice and we were able to, you know, yeah, we don't have to be the way they treated us. They called us moipi, and they treated us like that through the whole process. And even now, 5 years later, we had that same notion, feeling that was going on around the board, but we were comfortable now because we were like, we're not moipi, we're leaders now, and we've proven that we're leaders. So, yeah, that was probably the hardest thing was afkasi, being afkasi, you know, knowing that I'm proud Maori Samoan. It's not my fault that it wasn't passed down to me and my siblings. We're still very much part of our culture, and so you just gotta black out the noise and keep charging forward. I was just saying earlier when we were introducing myself in Te Reo was still, I choke up. I still choke up. That's because I'm still not there yet. But I know in here I am. I'm good. So yeah, that's probably the most challenging part, is that.
Well, that's why I have to make movies about these issues, right? you know.
your, your beautiful movie with Lucinda, seriously, like I go to tears when I look at that stuff because yeah, it's my life. It's just because we can't speak our native tongue naturally and we don't know our Fasamo ways doesn't mean we don't want to belong. And so when you're outcast like that with a single comment and it sits with you for like years, it affects the way you move. It's important that you don't let it affect you to the point where you silence yourself, find a voice and actually overcome it. And I think that's probably the most important thing to learn.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely.
Find your strength.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's well, we always struggle with Hafikasi. It's a word that's so loaded, and unless you are one, no one can really understand what it is to always live on the edges. Like you're never in,
Yeah.
you're always on the edge. Any place you're on the edge. But I think you're right. This is what makes us stronger, and this is what makes us fight harder, and
Yeah. There's that energy.
it gives us the energy because it's when people say no, then we're like, okay, well, okay, let's bring it.
Yeah.
Bring it then.
Yeah. One of the coolest things I always say to myself is the proof's in the pudding. Anyone that can go back into my track record of work can see that everything that I said I was going to achieve, I achieved it. And I did it really, really well. And now with the wider group for Kanaloa, it's the same thing. Like our boys didn't just rest on their laurels when they got told no. Like I said, they're all out there, head coaches of massive Premier Division franchises in France, and player agents and business owners. And my Mosso, he's a police officer here, and he's had some hard times coming back to New Zealand and facing the commercial bay. He was there for that. It was, what a thing to run into. And then my husband, he's still churning along as an international rugby coach. And for me, it's like, so long as we keep growing in our space and improving ourselves, we're moving forward. Everyone else is sitting still, So all good.
Oh, good.
Hopefully in a couple of days' time I'll know where we are with Salford Red Devils.
Is that I was that an article that was like I saw late like not long ago, and people were like, what's happening here?
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, wow, what is going on?
Okay, so I got invited by the ownership group because I went up there for a couple of things in the UK. One of them was a soft opening for a rock house care home for one of our boys. And also my son had been offered a contract. So I met with the owners and I met with the head coach. And I got invited to the corporate space. And I was like, yeah, why not? Why would you not go to a corporate room? I was aware that there was some issues with the fans and the owners and people not getting paid, which is why I was there to ask questions anyway. Anyway, so I went to the corporate box and enjoyed the festivities and watched the game. And there were a whole bunch of fans down the bottom having a go at the owners, and I was just caught in the middle of it. I mean, I was getting called monkey and ooh, what's that? And get that ugly off your face. You know, So I think I just took it all in
Mm.
and thought this is a club that could do with a bit of learning, and
What's that?
I'm gonna come back in a couple months and I'm going to acquire this this company. And so that's what I've done. Yeah. I'm fingers crossed it comes our way. If it doesn't, fine. But if it does, then yeah, there's a few 100,000 fans up there who may not like it, but they're gonna have to figure it out.
You're smashing it, and very inspiring.
Yeah.
What is some advice for young wahine out there who want to do the things? Yeah.
Get into sport. Sport hardens the mental capacity. It helps you to set goals that you need to achieve. So I know a lot of my energy also comes from when I was young and I said I did 1,500 meters. Like your body is really trying to keep up. And when you're a high achiever, because my parents were like, yeah, you're good at it, you should win. um, that's the goal. The goal is to win, right? So when you're going through physical pain and physical processes to get to that goal, your body is just learning work ethic, hard work. You're building that top 2 inches of mental capacity to get through the hard stuff, the grit. Um, so sport was always that for me. It started with athletics when I was young, then Prem's basketball and rugby. Like it's just it's something that you can aspire to win. So of course that was always a motivation point for me, was to use sport as that conduit. So any young girl that wants to get ahead, sport's a great thing. If sport's not your thing, then find something, whether it be music or science or art. Art's also great, where you can be involved in something that sets a bar for you that you have to achieve, because you've got to set that bar in order to keep nudging it up further and further. So that's one of my recommendations. And then the other thing too is to surround yourself by people who believe in you. There is nothing more damaging to the soul than being in a room full of naysayers.
Mm.
Um, I do watch videos that make me happy and inspire me. So you inspire me. Um, seeing groundbreaking things happen, especially for Māori Pasifika, where our populations are so small, it should be impossible. So yeah, for me, those are the main things: is get yourself involved in something that can challenge you constantly to do better, where there's a set bar that you've got to reach. And then the other part is to surround yourself with strong women and men. It's really important to surround yourself. I'm very blessed because, being a tomboy growing up, I had lots of guy mates who respect me as an equal. If anything, actually, they elevate me more. Um, and that helps a lot. So don't just set yourself up with strong wahine. Make sure you have strong tane as well, who can also support you, and you can lean on both to get yourself up. Yeah, and just do the best you can. Like one thing I've learned 5 years ago, it was just gut wrenching, devastating to know that we'd missed out. We'd just cut really. This time around, it didn't hurt, and I think it's because we just built resilience and we were prepared this time for a yes/no answer, and we already know our path. It's written. It's God's plan. So just go with it.
Well, do you feel like you've got all these things going on, right? Like the UK thing, da 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 da. It's only just gonna get bigger and more expansive and
Yeah.
way more onto it,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. It's
Yeah.
always every day's new, so
Sorry, well, just rewind.
it's all good.
Can you tell me who your husband is and who's he's the coach for?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So, so Matt, my husband, so Maddie is a coach, like not just on the field, but for me. He's my coach, and he's my kids' coach, and he'll be my moko's coach. Um, so aside from being a high performance coach of international teams and just being so phenomenal at it, what I like to think is that he's just great at life coaching in general. Um, he has this little joke because he's very good at talent identification. He'll watch games all over the world and just go, that guy, that guy, that guy, he's going to be the future. So, and he's never been wrong. Like he just knows sport, knows biomechanics, he knows everything, attitudes, mental capacity, all that stuff. Anyway, and the kids always go, rah, rah, and he goes, well, I must be good at talent identification because I chose your mum. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he is my coach. And he keeps me in line because, like I said, I'm like this wild, untamed animal. So he learned how to keep me in this space of calm. And I have always had one foot on earth and one foot in the spirit realm, and he knows it. And it took him a long time to get comfortable with it. Mainly because he saw spirituality as ghosts and stuff, so it scared him. Not so much anymore. So yeah, so he coaches me in a sense where he is probably the person that keeps pushing the bar up. So I talk about how I like to push the bar up, but he nudges it a little bit more.
Oh.
Yeah, and for me, I've always needed that. I need stimulation, constant stimulation. It's something I've always had since I was young. So
ADHD.
probably, yeah, it's definitely on the spectrum. It's all these great juices flow from. And so, mum and dad threw me into violin and sport and you name it. I was very good at math naturally. So that helped. Keep me going. And I'm very good at puzzles and, all that stuff. So yeah, so he coached me. He still coaches me daily, and he's there when I have a suki. He's the guy that goes, don't drop that bottom lip, get up, back on the horse and go again. But he's also there, pushing me up when I actually I'm lazy or I'm tired and I just don't want to do another proposal because I've done this before and, they're just going to say no. My visionary skills tells me it's not going to happen anyway. He's just like, yeah, but there's a journey still you've got to do this. We've got to go through the motions. Otherwise we can't hold people to account. So yeah, he's the best coach in the world, that guy.
Oh,
And he puts up with me.
He's lucky.
Oh, yeah.
And you're lucky.
I'm lucky.
You're lucky to have someone so 100% behind you.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
rare.
Yeah,
It's so rare.
he never questions anything. He'll challenge me, but he doesn't question. I don't know if that makes sense, but he'll ask me all the questions that I need to, like the devil's advocate questions are always asked. But he'll always back me. Yeah.
I think that comes down to that core thing of trust, right? Like, question it, but trust that you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we built our first company together when we were very young, so, and it still works a charm now on its own. So, yeah, I think that helped. There was that one project that we did together, and it works, and it still works. So as long as things work, you've got to keep supporting. Yeah. If it doesn't work, then you're like, oh, why would I support that? Yeah.
Do you think he's a little bit like your dad?
Oh, they're very alike.
Interesting, eh?
Yeah. Except my dad can put down a umu and my husband tries.
Oh well, he's Samoan though.
But he does a great spit. I'm not gonna lie. This block guys. He's real Tongan.
Yeah. Oh no, he's mixed,
Tongan
right?
side.
Yes. Lucky.
Yeah, it's a Tongan side. Manioke and Poka, that guy, Oka. Yeah, can't get better. But yeah, we've got to work on the umu.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, your whole story, your journey, your connections, your future connections, your future kaupapa, that's like insane. And even just the amount of money and people that you're dealing with is like, that's mind blowing. So congratulations. And it's so awesome. You have your coach with you, your whānau, your family, your young ones.
Yeah.
I'll see you at the Christmas holidays on Waiheke.
Yeah. Get over there. It only costs $58 to travel. Man, it's expensive. I feel sorry for anyone visiting the island now. It's ridiculous. But yeah, no, thanks for having me, eh? I really appreciate being on this. I feel honoured and privileged, and I'm just blessed that there'll be some form of legacy now in video form for my kids. Because all I've got are old school newspaper clippings of my heyday, and I don't want that anymore.
No, when you're like, well, you already are, but like getting photographed by more paparazzi, we can be like, yeah, she was, yes, Kaz, she was just at the patch, like chill, like our friend.
That TikTok video up in Salford, it was like 106,000 views at one point. Then they cut it, and I just cracked up, going, "Man, I didn't even mean to be in that space."
Well,
But
you're
no,
gonna smash it, and
thanks,
it's
babe.
it's
Appreciate
so hearty.
Thank you. Yeah.
We're back here from here in South Auckland.
Right. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.